This boy wrapped a red cloth strip around his head. He is not cosplaying as a blind monk, but because he has a strange eyes disease that makes him unable to open the eyes when at home. He walks around pretty well even when he's not using his vision. And now he's going to see his primary physician. Looking at your medical record profile, it says, "You just glanced at the moon. You can never open your eyes again." Really? Yeah, Lin nodded. He couldn't help but recall that strange night. When he was a child, he sat on the roof, looking at the full moon in the night. And here's the weird thing. His gaze seems to span time and space. He could clearly see the surface of the moon, and there was a golden seraph. I made eye contact with the angel, and then I couldn't open my eyes anymore. The doctor responded softly to Lin's statement, just about to fill in the blank line behind mental illness. But Lin added immediately, of course, "It's all just my personal delusion. I actually fell from a roof. I accidentally hit my head. Nerve damage. So I became blind. You seem to be recovering well." The doctor glanced at Lin unexpectedly, then wrote the word normal on the medical records. After the doctor left, Lin sits at the dining table, enjoying dinner with his family. His parents left early. It was his aunt who adopted him. And recently, he decided to go to school. Obviously, his aunt was a little worried about whether Lin could adapt to school life, afraid that Lin would be ostracized at school because of his eyes. "Don't worry, my eyes can see a little. To get into a good university, you must stand on the same starting line as others," the aunt said with relief. "You child, it's okay if you don't pass the exam. Aunt still also supports you." Lin returned to the room with some emotion, but he seemed to have lied, because he still couldn't open his eyes. Not even at all. But he didn't seem to lie, because even without opening his eyes, he can also recognize the things around him, just like the perception of the divine stone in the novel. At first, this perception can only detect a few centimeters around you, but as 5 years have passed, he can feel it clearly now. Although, in the eyes of outsiders, he is still a blind man, but this is everything to him. Night fell. Lin sighed. "I'm going to knock on the door in my dream again." Since looking into the eyes of the angels, every time he fell asleep, his consciousness will come to a strange place. In the towering fence here, there was a hospital he had never entered. He could only do one thing here. That was to knock on the door. Keep knocking on the door. At night in a corner of the city, an old man in a military uniform was lighting a cigarette. And beside his right foot, there was a billboard for the front. He stretched out 5 fingers, curled to fingers and 3 fingers. An unknown force emanated from his body. Then he slapped the ground. The blood-red beam of light soared into the sky. Forbidden Market. The blind man went to school for the first time. He thought he would have difficulty integrating into the class group, but his classmates are all very enthusiastic about him. Before he finished introducing himself, he was led to his seat by the monitor Zhang Jin. His classmates around him helped him carry things. It turned out that a few days ago, Lin's aunt came to the school, said that your eyesight is not good. Let us take care of you. Lin's heart was deeply touched again. At the same time, somewhere in town, a group of night watchmen with a special profession were working hard to clear the monsters that invaded the city. The leading woman was even more capable than men, continuously waving a spear. In a few seconds, she blasted the monsters into pieces, but suddenly her teammates looked stunned. Behind the woman, there stood a 2-story-high ghost-faced king. Before she could react, her body was pierced by a palm. She was thrown away. The body is thrown away quickly. This surprised his teammates. Can't believe what he saw. And the dying Hong Ying was still struggling. Hong Ying reported a serious misjudgment of the operation, requesting support. At evening, Lin lives in the old city not far from the school. So Zhang Xian and others prepared to send Lin home after school. At this time, a stench of corpses floated in the air, caused Lin's attention. Turn his head to look inside the bridge hole. Ask others, "Do you smell any strange smells?" Everyone was stunned at first. After Lin said this, they also seemed to feel a little strange. Then several people slowly walked towards the hole. The classmate turned on the phone light. Instantly, several people were frightened by the scene in front of them and collapsed to the ground, seeing a monster lowering its head to eat dinner. After seeing them, he threw away his dinner and rushed towards them. One classmate was at a loss at this time. She took his school bag and threw it behind him. Lin lowered his head instantly. The school bag hit the monster's chin directly, just when they were about to run to the cave entrance. Suddenly, the classmate was swallowed by the monster. Lin also reacted at this time. It turned out that there was more than one such monster. He dodged the attack of the monster behind him by turning sideways. He turned back and chopped the monster with a cane. The monster covered with scales. Lin was directly slapped and flew out of the cave. Lin, who reacted, just saw the squad leader being eaten on the side. An unbearable pain suddenly surged into his heart. For so many years, he has been treated as an outsider. He suffered the eyes of others. But it was not easy. I made it through. But I met you ugly freaks. Lin roared at the injustice in his heart, no longer suppressing the power in his heart. The energy that kept gathering wrapped him in it, finally formed a beam of light that broke through the clouds. The night watchmen far away in the city saw this powerful energy and were also very shocked. They all guessed that this was at least a 5-star strong man. In the universe beyond the blue stars, a pair of eyes were also looking at this side. He was the Angel King Michael, codenamed 003 by God. The boy was attacked by a monster, but just a glance scared the 3 ghost of face people to tremble. It turned out that he had awakened the body of the Angel King Michael, although this is the first awakening. But with just one blow, he pierced a ghost-faced man directly. Facing the remaining ghost-faced men's dying counterattack, Lin can still easily escape, but the mortal body is fragile after all. Instantly, the divine power in his body seemed to be out of control. He fell to his knees. The monster next to him stretched out his tongue and rushed towards him. Lin, who had lost his ability to move, about to be hit. At the critical moment, a figure blocked in front of him. The 100-meter-long tongue was split in half with a knife. Pick on the foundation. The ghost-faced man on the foundation cracked on the spot. Such a wonderful scene was seen by Lin. He just felt that the person in front of him was very strong. After the man was done, calmly take out the unburned cigarette. Turned around to ask Lin if the knife just now was handsome. And Lin also nodded in agreement. Then asked if he wanted to join us. As handsome as me. And Lin decisively refused. Leave it to the man had a big question mark, seeing the uncle trying his best. But Lin was not moved at all. Finally, he slipped away under the pretext of going back to school to get his school bag. After returning home, ask about cousin's homework. The sensible cousin also said that he had finished writing it long ago, just waiting for you to come back. After Lin had a brief chat with his cousin, he walked towards his room. But just as he was about to return to the room, he was suddenly stopped by his cousin. Because my cousin came back late today. Is it really okay? Lin was silent for a moment. Then he turned his head and told his cousin not to worry. His aunt and cousin were his last relatives. He must not let them be in danger. Lin fell on the bed and is still thinking about everything that happened today, even thinking the man who recruited him to join the gang. There must be a huge organization behind him. But once you are involved in some things, it's hard to get out. In the blink of an eye, I dreamed back to the unknown hospital. It's really hard for Lin. Knocking on the door at night, but just as he stretched out his hand to knock on the door, a flash of lightning suddenly flashed in the sky. Suddenly, an idea came to his mind. Is it the next moment? Lin stretched out his arms with all his strength, pushing towards the closed door. The long sealed door was slowly pushed open at this time. There stood the four big characters of the gods' psychiatric hospital. Unexpectedly, the nightmare that had been bothering him also came today. It has been 5 years. Lin finally entered this place that was very familiar to him. Looking at the emergency room next to him, it says Department of Patients. This reminded him of the mental hospital where he lived when he was a child. Lin ran to the inpatient department. At the end of the corridor, a ward full of graffiti caught his attention. At this moment, he was thinking about a question. Are the gods really imprisoned in this ward? The next moment, reality slapped the answer in his face. Because there was actually someone in this ward. She was a very tall woman. All the things were telling Lin. The woman in Lin's eyes might be a god. Orphan Lin actually has a mother, and she is one of the Greek gods of creation. But the former god now lives in a mental hospital. Looking at the doll-faced Nyx in front of him, Lin wanted to say hello and get familiar with it first. But suddenly Nyx exclaimed that he wanted to find a child. Then he turned to look at Lin. The next moment, Nyx, with tears streaming down her face, slowly walked towards him. Lin thought to himself that she wouldn't treat me as his child. Nyx rushed forward with open arms. Just give him a big hug. But she never expected to pass by Lin directly. Lin was very embarrassed. I saw Nyx hugging the vase in the corner and burst into tears. Turning around, she saw Zoopolis on the table again. At this time, a system suddenly appeared beside Lin, helping the goddess of night Nyx to treat. As long as the treatment reaches a certain progress, you can get some of her powers. Treating a seriously ill god is undoubtedly impossible to succeed. He had no idea where to start until Lin woke up from bed the next day. He is curious about how many children Nyx has. A man dressed strangely seems to be waiting for someone at the school gate. Also attracts the curiosity of the students passing by. After checking last night, I found out the kid who awakened the divine realm is actually a Seraph agent. So he came to the school gate early today to block him. Zhao Kongcheng turned around and saw that the gatekeeper had already closed the door. Zhao Kongcheng was still barking outside the door. Little did he know that Lin, who had no clue, decided to try his luck at the hospital. You said that your friend sees everything as her own child, and she cried for a long time. Yeah, always crying. The doctor also issued a pathology report, and the diagnosis result was intoxication and delirium delusion. The suggestion is to hospitalize the patient, but she's in a special situation. There are no conditions for hospitalization. The room seemed so quiet that you could hear the wind outside the window. The doctor's bright forehead wrinkles slightly. First, take some medicine to stabilize the condition. At this time, Lin also had doubts. Can the medicine in reality be brought into the dream? But even if it could be brought in, it may not be effective for the gods. At this moment, he saw an old acquaintance. It was Zhao Kongcheng, who was squatting at the school gate for a day. The two looked at each other, confirmed their eyes. Lin turned around and was about to run away. Zhao Kongcheng used a 360-degree aerial rotation and came directly in front of him. As soon as he landed, he slammed Lin against the wall. You little brat. Finally, I caught you, right, Uncle? Who are you? If you keep doing this, I'll yell. Shouting, you shout. It's no use yelling at all. He dragged Lin to find a place to have a good chat. But when he went to that place, he was shocked. What the hell is this love hotel? Speaking of this, Zhao Kongcheng dragged Lin inside. He doesn't even want to go in. But all these efforts were in vain in front of Zhao Kongcheng. Finally, he even booked a dynamic and passionate king-size bedroom. Just entered the door, Lin was thrown on the bed. Hey, today, I'll teach you a little pervert. What exactly is a god? As early as September 1922, the then Mist Exploration team observed a giant dragon flying in the sky. He is Leviathan, the dragon of chaos. And that was the first time in human history that a mythical creature was observed. Name number 001. Their existence completely subverts human cognition. In order to stabilize social order, we conceal the existence of biochemical creatures. And the Seraph Michael you saw. It was the third mythical creature discovered in 1928, codename 003. But in March 1928, a golden sword beam shot out from the moon, passing through the universe. Razor a volcano in North America to the ground. Because of the influence of the fog, it took the exploration team a year to reach the volcano, and they ended up in a volcanic crater. Found the sealed god number 00 for fallen angel. At that time, people speculated the fallen angel should have been Blazing Michael, shots down from the moon. Since then, we have found reborn child. There is a chance to awaken special powers, and this power is called the Forbidden Realm. The Forbidden Realm will grow with the growth of the Master. That golden light last night, it's Michael's energy fluctuations, your Forbidden Realm ability. It should have awakened at that time. After listening to Zhao Kongcheng's account, Lin only felt incredible, but it also made him understand. His own sensing ability is the Forbidden Realm, and the dynamic vision after opening the eyes and the angelic power. It's about capacity. Then Zhao Kongcheng gave Lin a scientist's categorization on the division of realms levels. The first level is like a cup of water. Water inside doesn't move. It's called the base cup realm. The second level is like the water in a pond, the pond realm. The third level is like the water of the river that flows endlessly, the river realm. Next is the ocean realm, vast and boundless. The top level is like endless spiritual power, endless and inexhaustible. This is the immeasurable realm, also called Klein realm. So this is all of realm's levels known to humans. Zhao's comments also made Lin curious about his own realm level, but what he got was a ruthless flow. You are at teacup realm. Okay, I am a small rookie. Subsequently, Lin asked Zhao Kongcheng what Forbidden Realm level Zhao was. But what he didn't expect was Zhao Kongcheng has no Forbidden Realm. It was only with strong combat experience and strict training that he joined the Hunters. But there are 3 ways to obtain the Forbidden Realm. The first type is born with its own Forbidden Realm, and the second type is